Something else we've begun to touch on in our conversation during the course of this programme is America's relationship with China. Just have a listen to the BBC's Chinese media analyst, Kerry Allen. She summed up to me how the events, the attacks that we've been seeing in the United States have been covered in China recently.
Since the beginning of March, there have been almost daily reports in China about rising anti-Asian xenophobia in the States. There's been a heavy emphasis in Chinese newspapers that perpetrators of violence have told many victims to go back to China or accused them of bringing the China virus to the US. And Chinese media have been warning that there is rising white supremacy in the country. Now, media in China have been heavily critical over the last year of former President Trump using loaded language about the coronavirus to stoke racial tensions in the US. But long term, dating back to the beginning of the Trump presidency, China's media have been creating a picture for Chinese citizens that the US is not a safe place for Asians, either those born in the US or the hundreds of thousands of Chinese who fly over to study and work. The kidnap and murder of a Chinese student, Jiang Yingying, in 2017 sparked huge fears in China. And last year, during the Black Lives Matter protests, it was a big media focus that Asian as well as black people had suffered from the divisions that have been heightened under Trump's leadership.
The BBC's Chinese media analyst, Kerry Allen. Andy Kim is a former diplomat. What's your reaction to all of that?
I'm a son of immigrants married to an immigrant, and my parents came to this country because of the opportunities here. My dad grew up in South Korea as a polio survivor since a baby. He grew up in an orphanage, lived on the streets, homeless for much of his childhood. But, America took a chance on him, brought him in, gave him an education, and my dad ended up getting a PhD in genetics here in America. This is a country that my family loves dearly. It's a country that we believe in. We believe in the opportunities here, and as do many others. While we are criticizing and shaming these attacks, we are doing so from a place of still love and belief in this country because we believe in the good parts of it, and we think that is so important. And yes, other countries, our competitors, are certainly going to try to weaponize that, certainly try to oversimplify things and try to make this seem like the American experiment is failing. And that is not true. The openness of our debates and the way in which our society tries to fix and heal, that is part of what is so extraordinary about this country. And the more we can have that kind of openness and that type of debate and hopefully the fixing and the healing, the better we can show that around the world that our efforts here and our government here is trying to meaningfully change and improve the lives of the people. And that is something that we want to show.
Democratic Party Congressman Andy Kim, thank you very much indeed. I wonder, Ellen Wu, what you make of that support that we heard Kerry Allen talking about from China. Is it helpful, or is it evidence of how incidents in the United States, which are reported freely, can be weaponized in what is undoubtedly a volatile relationship?
I do think absolutely that media reporting and narratives do play a huge role in shaping people's perceptions and then perhaps their actions based on those perceptions. Of course, we have to take PRC media with a grain of salt as well. I know it is heavily censored. But if we take, a previous historical example, which is if we dial back to the Cold War and the thick of the civil rights movement, let's say in the 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, U.S. policymakers were also very keen on making sure that the United States projected a positive image to the world. And so that both helped and hurt, I think, the civil rights movement in the sense that it created an opening for people to advance certain reforms, but it also constricted possibilities. When we consider this moment and the way that other countries are looking at the United States, I think we do have to be mindful that things can always work both ways.